speaking to one of the most successful trainers in the world, Greg Jackson. Nice to meet you.
My pleasure, sir. My pleasure.
How are you?
I'm very well, very well. Thank you for asking.
So, what are you doing? Can you tell us what are you doing here in London?
I'm cornering
fighters.
Right, at the UFC, I'm cornering Carlos Condit in his fight against Dan Hardy. So it's a very tough fight. We've trained really hard and we've tried to prepare to the best of our ability. So we'll see tomorrow if it pays off.
I don't think that you're gonna tell us, but in interviews has told the media that he's gonna stand and strike with Dan Hardy. What do you think of that? Is that a good idea?
Well, it's definitely part of the strategy. The fights don't start on the ground, unfortunately, so you've got to be able to be very well versed in the stand-up and the ground fighting stuff. So we'll be doing a little of both.
I know that Dan Hardy has criticized your camp or maybe you for being like, let's say you put up boring game plans, if you can call that. What do you have to say about that?
I would look at a track record over the last 14 years. We have the most fights of the nights. We have the most submissions of the nights. Those are things to sell the fight, so I don't take it very personally. Obviously, people like in the WEC, Leonard Garcia, even Carlos Condit in his last fight, Donald Cerrone, Nate Marquardt. We have plenty of fighters that are very, very exciting all the time. So sometimes the fights aren't as exciting, but out of the hundreds that I've done, if there's only one or two or three, I'm in good shape.
Of this card tomorrow, is there any, except Condit's fight, is there any fight that you particularly are looking forward to see?
Well, I'm helping out Akiyama too a little bit, so that'll be another very tough fight, and I'm going to give him a hand and see if I can help out.
Is there anything you can reveal about his training? How's it going?
He trained in New Mexico for 2 weeks, and he did a very good job. We did a lot of conditioning stuff and some game planning, but he's trained very hard, and he should be very ready.
If we go back to the history, I mean, what's the deal with you? People want to know, how come that you have been so successful over the years? Is there anything, what are you doing that is doing so good?
I think the secret is that the fighters take care of each other and they really look out for each other. So I think it's we have some very good coaches, and then the fighters are always taking care of each other. And I think that camaraderie is a very important element in our success.
Were you a fighter yourself before, or?
Nah, when I was younger, there was no UFC. It wasn't around. So when I was younger, I had to do some fighting, but since it came out, I just want to help people, and so now I just coach.
Is there any style that you particularly like? Do you like a standing fight or a ground fight, or do you like to mix them up?
I like to mix them up because the goal is to win, and so depending on the fights and the opponent, you have to pick what style is going to win. And if you hold yourself to one style, it's very limiting. So your goal should be to win, no matter what it takes within the rules. So depending on each fight, you have to love a style for each individual fight.
So for people to know, what do you think is like stylistically the best thing to know for like to have like a ground to step on? What do you think?
I like to start with wrestling because it's a very good sport. But you have to in today's fights, you have to know everything. There's not one thing that you can be better at. For myself, I like to start out wrestlers because it's a very tough sport. It teaches you mental toughness and it allows you to really control the middle of the fight. You can control if it stays up or goes on down the ground.
If you're not to pick a fighter from your own gym, which fighter is that you would, love to work with, that you haven't worked with? Is there any?
Boy, I think all of them. You know, I don't.
Any special guy?
I'm a big fan of Anderson Silva. I really like the way he works. There's a lot of fighters that I really appreciate. Jose Aldo. There's a lot of guys that are very impressive that I like to watch as a fan.
As a fan, Anderson Silva versus Vitor Belfort. What do you think of that match?
I think it's going to be a very tough match. Both guys bring a lot to the table. It's going to be a matter of who can get the rhythm first. I think if Anderson gets the rhythm, he'll win because once he really figures out the timing, he's very hard to stop.
And finally, about the great matchup that everyone is looking forward to, if there ever is going to happen, George St. Pierre versus Anderson Silva?
Well, George is our guy, so we have to go with him, of course. But that's a very tough fight, and we would have to put on weight and do it be very smart about it. But we'll see if it happens. I don't know.
Nice talking to you. Thank you for taking your time. It's
My pleasure.
been wonderful. Thank you. Thank you.